Unbearable, all-consuming pain tore apart every cell of my body. I lay in a pool of my own blood on the asphalt, looking at the gray sky through a veil of red mist. My lungs made a wheezing sound, trying to pull air through broken ribs. Towering over my body was Wang Ji, my former classmate. His body was covered in glowing patterns. A dragon tattoo on his back had come to life and was writhing, releasing tongues of flame. Runes danced on his arms, each amplifying his strikes tenfold. "Chen Hao!" His voice sounded mocking. "You were always the clean one. Even now, when the whole world has turned into hell, you remained a virgin lamb without a single tattoo." He crouched down, his face twisted into a cruel smile. "You know what's funny? I got my first tattoo just for kicks to piss off my father. A little dragon on my shoulder blade, and now I am a god." He raised his hand and the flame from the dragon's mouth on his back concentrated into a fireball the size of a basketball. "Goodbye, Chen Hao. I hope in the next life you'll be smarter." The fire crashed down on me. I screamed, but the sound got stuck in my throat. My skin burned, flesh melted, bones cracked. The last thing I saw was the satisfied face of Wang Jie, watching me turn into ash. Darkness, void, and suddenly, I sat up in bed with a jerk, gasping for air. My hands instinctively reached for my chest, expecting to find charred flesh. But the skin was whole. I was whole. "What the?" I whispered, looking at my trembling hands. The room. My old dorm room. The band poster on the wall that I took down 3 years ago. The laptop on the desk, an old model I sold to buy food during the apocalypse. My heart was pounding wildly. I grabbed the phone from the bedside table. March 15th, 2024, 6:47 a.m. "No," my voice trembled. "This is impossible. March 15th. 7 days before the world changed forever. 7 days before the awakening, when all tattoos on the planet came to life and turned into a source of unimaginable power. Memories flooded back. I remembered everything, every day of survival, every death I witnessed, every humiliation from those who were stronger. I remembered Wang Jai, who turned from the class bully into one of the strongest people in the city thanks to his dragon tattoo. I remembered Liu Mei, my ex-girlfriend, who left me for him because I was useless without tattoos. I remembered the rules I learned too late. Rule 1, size matters. The bigger the tattoo, the more power it grants. Rule 2, quality is more important than quantity. One detailed dragon tattoo is stronger than 10 primitive drawings. Rule 3, placement is critical. A tattoo on the back gives protection. On the arms, attack power. On the legs, speed. On the chest, endurance. Rule 4, mythological creatures and ancient runes give maximum power. Rule 5, time matters. The older the tattoo before the awakening, the stronger it is. A tattoo a year old is twice as strong as a fresh one. And the most important rule, which I learned from a dying old man in the ruins of a library, legendary tattoos exist. Ancient patterns that can turn a human into a living weapon of mass destruction. I slowly stood up from the bed. My legs were steady, though my mind still couldn't believe the reality of what was happening. 7 days, I whispered, looking in the mirror at my young, unmarked body. I have 7 days to change everything. A smile appeared on my face, a sinister, predatory smile of a man who knows the future. Wang Ji, Liu Mei. This time everything will be different. This time I will be ready. First thing, I grabbed my phone and checked my balance. 3,247 yuan. This was catastrophically little for my plans. I needed money, a lot of money, because the best tattoo artists were expensive, very expensive. But I remembered what no one else knew. In 7 days, money would turn into useless paper. The banking system would collapse in the first hours of the awakening, when tattoos on the bodies of guards and employees would come to life and start smashing everything around. I opened my laptop and started to act. First stop, credit apps. I remembered which ones approved applications the fastest and with minimal checks. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Weidai, 50,000 yuan, approved. Jiebei, 30,000 yuan, approved. Jima Credit, 80,000 yuan, approved. Yuqianhua, 120,000 yuan, approved. In 2 hours, I gathered 450,000 yuan in loans, but that wasn't enough. I needed more. I remembered the underground loan sharks. In my past life, I feared them like fire. Their interest rates were insane and their collection methods brutal. But now I didn't care. In a week, their organizations wouldn't exist. The number for Zhang Kun, a local loan shark boss, was still in my memory. I dialed it. I need 1 million yuan today, any interest rate. There were more calls. By lunch, I had closed deals with 3 underground organizations. By evening, I had 2.8 million yuan on my card. I smiled, looking at the numbers on the screen. In my past life, I was an honest payer of debts even during the apocalypse. What an idiot I was. The next step was critical. I didn't just need a good tattoo artist, I needed a legendary master. I remembered a name. Old Feng Yuan. In my past life, he died on the first day of the awakening. His own tattoos went out of control and tore him apart. But until that moment, he was known as the best master of traditional tattoos in all of Shanghai, and I knew a secret that no one else knew. Feng Yuan wasn't just a master. He was a keeper of ancient knowledge. In his studio, in a hidden room under the floorboards, lay a book. An ancient book with sketches of legendary tattoos that were over 1,000 years old. In my past life, I learned about this from a surviving apprentice of Feng, who found the book in the ruins of the studio. But by then it was damaged, and most of the knowledge was lost. Now the book was whole, and I knew where to find it. I got dressed and left the dorm. The streets were calm, people going about their usual business, unaware that their world would turn upside down in a week. Feng Yuan's studio was in an old district of the city, in a narrow alley between two residential buildings. A worn sign depicting a phoenix swung in the wind. I entered. Inside, it smelled of incense and antiseptic. Behind the counter sat Master Feng himself, a thin old man with long gray hair tied in a ponytail. His arms and neck were covered in intricate patterns. Every millimeter of skin was a work of art. He looked up from the book he was reading and studied me. "Too young for serious work," he muttered, "and too clean. There isn't a single mark on you." "That is exactly why I am here," I replied, placing a stack of money on the counter. 100,000 yuan in cash. The old man's eyebrows shot up. "That's a down payment," I said. "I don't just want a tattoo. I want a masterpiece. No, I want a legend." Feng leaned back in his chair, studying me with new interest. "Do you have a sketch?" "No." I shook my head. "But I know you keep something special. A book. An ancient book with patterns your master taught you before his death." The old man's face turned to stone. His hand slowly slid under the counter where I knew a knife lay. "How did you know about that?" "It doesn't matter." I raised my hands in a placating gesture. "What matters is that I have the money to pay for this work. And time. 7 days." "7 days?" the old man scoffed. "Serious work takes months, boy. Then I will have to live here." I placed another stack of money on the counter. "And work around the clock. I will pay 2 million yuan for 7 days of work." Silence hung in the air. The old man looked at the money, then at me. "You are either crazy or you know something I don't," he finally said. "Why the rush?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "Because in 7 days the world will change, and those who have the right tattoos will become gods, and those who don't will turn to dust." The old man looked at me for a long time, and I saw skepticism and curiosity battling in his eyes. Finally, he slowly nodded. "Show me your back." I took off my shirt and turned my back to Feng Yuan. I heard him get up from the chair and come closer. His cold fingers traced my skin, studying the contours of muscle and bone. "Good foundation," he muttered. "A clean canvas. Tell me, boy, what do you know about true tattoos?" "Enough to understand that they are more than just a drawing on skin." The old man chuckled. A smart answer, but not smart enough. He walked around me and stood face to face. "A true tattoo is a contract between flesh and spirit. Every line, every dot is a seal binding the image to your essence." He turned and walked into the back room. I followed him. The room was filled with sketches, books, and tools. Feng crouched down and lifted a floorboard, pulling an old, worn, leather-bound book from the cache. "This book," he reverently placed it on the table, "belonged to my master, and before him, to his master. It has been passed down from generation to generation for 8 centuries. He opened the book and I saw pages covered in ancient characters and intricate patterns. Dragons, phoenixes, tigers, demons. Every creature was drawn with incredible detail. "These are not just drawings," Feng ran his finger along one of the pages. "These are summons. Each pattern is the name of a spirit, written in the language of flesh." He turned the pages until he stopped at a spread that made my spirit freeze. Depicted on the page was, I didn't even know what to call it. It was something between a dragon and a deity. A creature with the body of an eastern dragon, but with 8 wings emerging from its back. Its mouth was open, pouring out a stream of runes and symbols. Around the creature swirled the elements: fire, water, earth, air, lightning, ice, darkness, and light. Baman Longshen, Feng read the name. "Dragon of the 8 all-encompassing deities. This is..." He shook his head. "This is one of the 3 absolute patterns. Legend has it that he who wears this tattoo gains power over the 8 elements." "I want it," I said without hesitation. "You're crazy." The old man closed the book. This tattoo has never been applied fully. Even my master only did fragments, the full pattern. It will cover your entire back, shoulders, arms, and part of your chest. It will require over 100 hours of work. We have 7 days. I put the money on the table again. That's 168 hours, work 16 hours a day. You will have 112 hours of pure time. Is that enough? Feng looked at me with a long gaze. The pain will be unbearable. I will endure. You could die. A pattern of such complexity and power, it might reject you, burn you from the inside. Then I will die trying to become a god rather than living as a slave. Something changed in the old man's eyes. Respect? Madness recognizing a kindred spirit? I didn't know, but he nodded. Fine, we start tonight. But first, you need to understand the process. I cannot do everything in one session. We will start with the foundation, the outline of the dragon on the back. That will take the first 3 days. Then, he pointed to the book. We will add the 8 wings and begin work on the elements. That's another 3 days. And on the 7th day? On the 7th day, Feng smiled a grim smile. We will add the final detail, the eyes of the dragon. That is when the pattern will awaken. But there is a problem, he raised a hand. Beiman Longshen is only the back. You will still have your arms, legs, chest. If you want to maximize your power, you need tattoos there too. I had already thought about that. On my right arm, I raised my hand. I want runes of strength. Ancient berserker runes that increase physical power. On the left arm, runes of control. To wield the dragon's elements with precision. On the legs, symbols of speed and invulnerability. And on the chest? I pondered. On the chest, Feng nodded. I suggest the Heart of Tao, a central mandala that will bind all the tattoos into a single system. Without it, you will simply be wearing disjointed patterns. With it, you will become a living weapon. How much? Another 500,000 and another 3 days of work. I quickly calculated in my head. 7 days for the dragon plus 3 for the rest, 10 days. But I only had 7. Can you work in parallel? The dragon on the back during the day, runes on the limbs at night? The old man shook his head. Too dangerous. The body must rest between sessions, otherwise... Otherwise what? I'll die? I chuckled. Without these tattoos, I'll die in 7 days anyway. So what's the difference? Feng studied me for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Then we will need help. I have an apprentice. Young but talented. She can work on the runes on your limbs while I do the dragon. Perfect. When do we start? Right now. The first prick of the needle was like a lightning strike straight to the nervous system. I lay on a special couch face down, teeth clenched so hard my jaw ached. Feng Yuan was bent over my back, his tattoo machine buzzing like an angry hornet, driving ink under my skin. This is only the beginning, the old man said calmly. The outline of the dragon's head. The most painful part is the spine. That's where the most nerve endings are. He wasn't joking. Every touch of the needle to the skin over the vertebrae felt like the touch of red-hot iron. I bit into a towel, trying not to scream. Hours dragged on. My world narrowed to the pulsating pain in my back and the monotonous buzzing of the machine. Feng worked with the methodical precision of a master, his hands steady despite his age. Breathe deeper, he instructed. Pain is just a signal. You can learn to ignore signals. Easy to say when it's not your skin being pierced 1,000 times a minute. About 4 hours later, Feng's apprentice entered. A girl of about 25 with short black hair and tattoos of snakes wrapping around her arms. Master Feng, she nodded to the old man, then looked at me. Is this our madman? This is Chen Hao, Feng replied. Chen Hao, this is Lin Xiao, my best student. She will be working on your arms. Nice to meet you, I rasped through the pain. Lin came closer and whistled when she saw the sketch of Beiman Longshen. Seriously, the 8 Divine? Master, are you sure he'll survive? We'll see, Feng muttered without looking up from his work. Lin took my right arm and began wiping it with antiseptic. All right, hero, she said with a smirk. Hope you're ready for even more pain. Berserker runes on the inner forearm, that's like tattooing directly on the nerves. She wasn't exaggerating. When her machine touched the tender skin inside my wrist, I finally screamed. Lin didn't stop. Her hand moved with the confidence of a surgeon, tracing the complex geometric patterns of the ancient runes. Through tears of pain, I saw the lines taking shape, angular symbols of power weaving into a complex pattern. Time lost meaning. There was only pain, the buzzing of machines, and the voices of Feng and Lin discussing technical details. Need to deepen the shading here. The line of power must run parallel to the vein. Careful with that spot, the bone is close to the surface. I was slipping into something like a meditative state. The pain was still there, but I learned to detach from it, observing it as if from the outside. At some point, I passed out. I woke up to someone pouring sweet water into my mouth. "Drink," Lin ordered. "You've lost a lot of fluids and some blood." I took a big gulp and tried to sit up. Mistake. My back exploded with pain and I collapsed back with a groan. "Don't move, idiot." Lin pushed me back onto the couch. Master Feng finished the dragon's head. "Look." She held up a mirror and I saw the reflection of my back. My breath caught. On my skin, between the shoulder blades, sported the head of a dragon. Not some cartoon version, but a living, breathing creature. Every scale was drawn with incredible detail. The horns curved upward, the eyes stared with primal fury, even without being filled with color. The mouth was half open, revealing sharp fangs. I couldn't find the words. This is only the beginning. Feng wiped his hands with a towel. "The head takes up 10% of the entire tattoo. Tomorrow we start the body." He stepped closer. "You did well, boy. Most would have given up after an hour. You lasted 6. I looked at my right arm. The entire forearm from wrist to elbow was covered in runic patterns. Even now, without the awakening, they seemed to pulsate with their own energy. "How much more?" I asked hoarsely. "If we work 16 hours a day?" Feng pondered. 6 days. The 7th day will go to final touches and activation." "Then let's continue." "No," he shook his head. "Now you rest. 4 hours of sleep, then we continue." I wanted to argue, but my body was smarter than my mind. As soon as my head touched the pillow, I fell into darkness. The next 5 days merged into one endless tunnel of pain and ink. Day 2. The dragon's body. Feng slowly moved down my spine, tracing the writhing body of the creature. Every scale received individual attention. Every shadow added depth. Lin worked on my left arm, applying runes of control. Finer, more elegant symbols, which, as she explained, would allow me to direct the elements with the precision of a surgeon. Day 3. The wings. This was the hardest part. 8 wings, each representing one of the elements, extended from the dragon's body and spread across my shoulders and upper arms. The fire wing, red and orange, with complex flame patterns. The water one, blue and flowing. Earth, brown with veins of gold. Air, silvery white with swirls. Lightning, purple with zigzag lines. Ice, turquoise with crystalline patterns. Dark, black with red specks. And light, gold, shining even on the paper sketch. The work was so detailed that Feng had to use special needles and a magnifying glass. Every feather in the wings, every line of energy required absolute precision. I stopped counting how many times I lost consciousness. Day 4. Lin started work on my legs. On the right leg, symbols of speed, inspired by images of the legendary runner Ho Yi. On the left, runes of invulnerability, ancient protective seals that, according to legend, made skin hard as steel. Feng, meanwhile, was adding details to the wings. Shadows, highlights, color transitions. Each element received its own character, its own energy. Day 5. The chest. Feng put aside the work on the back and began the most important part. The heart of Tao. In the center of my chest, right over the sternum, he began tracing a complex mandala. Circle within circle, each filled with symbols and patterns. In the center, a dot representing the origin of everything. Lines radiated from it, connecting the mandala to every other tattoo on my body. "This is the central processor," Feng explained as he worked. "When the time comes, the command to all other patterns will come from here. Without this, you'll be like a computer without an operating system, a collection of unconnected programs." Day 6. Final details. Feng worked on the tiniest elements, shading, highlights, transitions. Lin added the last runes to my limbs, checking to make sure every line was perfect. By the evening of the 6th day, they stopped. I looked at my full-length reflection and didn't recognize myself. My body was no longer a body. It was a canvas covered in a masterpiece. The dragon on my back seemed alive, wings spread, ready to beat. The runes on my limbs pulsed, even in a dormant state. The mandala on my chest drew the eye, forcing it to slide along the spiral patterns again and again. Only one thing remains. Feng stood nearby, also studying his work. The eyes. He turned to me. "Tomorrow, at dawn. When the first rays of the sun touch the window, I will draw the dragon's eyes." And at that moment... "The awakening," I finished. The old man nodded. "Sleep well tonight, Chen Hao. Tomorrow you will either become a god or burn to ash." March 22nd, 2024, 5:47 a.m. I lay on the couch looking at the ceiling. I hadn't slept all night, despite the fatigue. My mind was too active, overflowing with memories from my past life. I remembered this day. In my past life, I woke up in my dorm room, went to class, unsuspecting. At 9:47 a.m., the sky flared with violet light. A cosmic anomaly, that's what scientists called it later. A wave of unknown energy rolled across the planet, activating all tattoos on every body. Those who had large, high-quality tattoos became stronger in an instant. Those who didn't became victims. Feng Yuan entered the room at exactly 6 in the morning. He looked solemn, almost ceremonial. In his hands, he held a special tattoo machine, small with a fine needle. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Yes." I lay on my stomach for the last time. Feng sat beside me, his breathing steady, hands calm. "The eyes are the portal to the soul of the pattern," he began in a quiet voice. "When I finish them, the dragon will awaken. If it accepts you, you will gain power. If not, I know the risks." Feng touched the needle to the skin between my shoulder blades, where the dragon's head was located. The first touch was different. Not just pain, a sensation as if something had woken up. Deep inside, at the cellular level, something stirred. Feng worked silently, his hand moving with meditative precision. First eye, second eye, pupils, glints, every detail was added with the care of a jeweler. And suddenly, the dragon opened its eyes. I didn't see it, but I felt it. Heat. Incredible, all-consuming heat spread from the center of my back throughout my body. The tattoos began to burn, not with pain, but with power. "Master!" Lin shouted from somewhere far away. "They're glowing." I tried to stand but couldn't move. Energy flowed through every line, every rune. The dragon on my back, it was alive. I felt its presence, its ancient, primal mind touching my consciousness. "Who dared to summon me?" A voice thundered in my head, echoing off the walls of my skull. "I did," I answered mentally. "Chen Hao, I summoned you. I need your power." "Mortal," the dragon seemed amused. "Do you understand what you ask? Dominion over the 8 elements? Power capable of destroying mountains and draining seas?" "Yes." "And what will you give me in return?" This moment was critical. I remembered stories from my past life about those who were devoured by their own tattoos, failing to reach an agreement with the spirits inside. "I will give you a purpose," I said. "In this world, you are just a drawing confined in an ancient book. Through me, you will live again, fight, rule. I will give you enemies worthy of your fury. I will give you battles worthy of legends." Silence, long heavy silence. Then laughter. Ancient, mighty laughter that shook the foundations of my mind. "Well said, mortal. I accept the pact. My power is yours, but remember, if you ever cower in battle, if you disgrace my name, I will devour you from the inside." Agreed. The heat reached its peak. My body arched. I cried out, but not from pain, from overflowing energy. Every tattoo flared with the light of its element. The dragon blazed with iridescent radiance. The runes on my arms and legs glowed. The mandala on my chest spun, pulsing with energy. And then, silence. I lay on the couch, breathing heavily. My body was covered in sweat, but I was alive. Moreover, I felt incredible. Power surged in every muscle, in every cell. I slowly sat up. Feng and Lin stood to the side, their faces a mix of awe and fear. That was... Feng took a step forward. It worked. I saw the awakening with my own eyes. I stood up. The world around me seemed different. I saw clearer, heard sharper. I felt the air currents in the room, the vibrations of the earth beneath my feet, the electric charges in the wires of the walls. The clock on the wall showed 9:45. 2 minutes. "We need to go outside," I said, heading for the door. "What? Why?" Lin looked at me uncomprehendingly. "Because in 2 minutes the entire world will awaken. And if we stay here, the tattoos on both of you might go crazy in the confined space." Feng paled, instantly understanding. "Lin, quick, to the roof." We ran out of the studio and rushed up the fire escape to the roof of the building. Around us, the city lived its usual life. People walked the streets, cars drove on the roads. No one knew that in a minute their world would end. 9:46. "Hold on tight," I said. "It's starting now." 9:47. The sky flared. A violet wave of light rolled across the horizon, moving faster than the speed of sound. It covered the city in an instant, and the world exploded into chaos. It was like a volcanic eruption, but instead of lava, screams and energy burst from the buildings. All around, people fell to their knees, their tattoos flaring with light. Some screamed in pain, some in ecstasy. Transformations began on the streets. A man with a tiger tattoo on his chest roared, and his body began to grow, muscles swelling, hands turning into clawed paws. A woman with a phoenix tattoo on her back soared into the air on wings of pure flame. A teenager with runic tattoos on his arms accidentally discharged lightning that struck a parked car, causing it to explode. But the majority were without tattoos or with small primitive drawings. They became victims in the very first minutes. "My God," Lin whispered, looking at the street. "This is madness." Feng held onto the railing, his own tattoos glowing, but he maintained control. His years of meditation and discipline allowed him to handle the awakening better than most. I looked at my hands. The runes on them pulsed with a soft light, awaiting a command. I could feel the dragon on my back. He was calm, confident, ready for action. "System activated." A mechanical voice sounded in my head. Another surprise of the awakening, a digital interface that materialized in the minds of all the awakened. A semi-transparent window appeared in the air before me. Name Chen Hao. Level 1. Class Elementalist Lord. Tattoos. Baman Longshen, mythical. Mastery of all 8 elements. Berserker runes, legendary. Plus 300% to physical strength. Control runes, legendary. Plus 500% to ability accuracy. Speed symbols, rare. Plus 200% to movement speed. Invulnerability symbols, rare. Plus 150% to defense. Heart of Tao, mythical. Links all abilities. Plus 100% to overall efficiency. Strength, 3,847. Rating, I whistled. In my past life, being completely without tattoos, my starting strength was 10. The average person with 1 or 2 small tattoos started with 50 to 100 strength. 3,847. I was at the level of a mini-boss right from the start. Chen Hao, Feng caught my attention. "Look." I followed his pointing finger. A figure stood on a neighboring roof. Even from a distance, I recognized him. Wang Jie, my killer from the past life. His dragon tattoo glowed with red light. Fire danced around his body. He stood on the edge of the roof, surveying the chaos below, and on his face was a smile of pure delight. Then he turned his head and saw me. Even at a distance, I saw his eyes widen in surprise. Wang Jie knew me, knew that I was always clean without tattoos. And now, he jumped. Not jumped down. Jumped across. Across the 20-meter gap between the buildings, as if gravity were just a suggestion. He landed on our roof with a crash, cracking the concrete beneath his feet. "Chen Hao?" His voice was full of disbelief. "Is that really you?" He walked closer, studying my transformed form. "When did you manage? How did you—" He shook his head, his face twisting in anger. "Doesn't matter, you're still too weak. I have an elite dragon. You have whatever you scratched on yourself in a week." He raised his hand and flames concentrated into a fireball. "In my past life, this killed me. In this life?" I smiled. "Show me." Wang Jie hurled the fireball. It flew straight at my chest, the temperature so high the air around it melted. I raised my left hand, the one with the control runes. Water shield. A wall of water materialized in front of my palm. The fireball hit it and evaporated with a hiss, turning into a cloud of steam. Wang Jie's face went pale. "That's impossible. My strength is 1,200. You can't just—" 1,200? I laughed. "I just checked. Mine is 3,847. His eyes widened. 3,000? I took a step forward and the dragon on my back stirred. I felt his joy at the impending battle. "Wang Ji," I said quietly. "In another life you killed me, burned me alive, mocking my weakness." What are you talking about?" "But now," I raised my right hand, activating the Berserker runes. "Now let me show you the difference between a dragon and a god." Energy exploded from my body. 8 wings on my back came to life, each emitting the glow of its element. The dragon roared, not with a voice, but with pure power that shook the air. Wang Jie backed away, his face now full of fear. "Wait, let's talk. I didn't mean to—" Too late. I vanished. The speed symbols on my legs activated, and I moved faster than the human eye could see. I appeared right in front of Wang Jie, my fist, covered in the stone armor of the earth element, slammed into his stomach. The blow lifted him a meter into the air. Ribs crunched. He flew back, crashing into a ventilation shaft and breaking through the metal. But I wasn't finished. I summoned lightning. Violet energy wrapped around my right arm. With the Berserker rune amplified 3 times over, I released the discharge. The lightning struck Wang Jie and his body jerked convulsively. His dragon tattoo tried to protect him, surrounding him with a fiery shield, but it was useless. The difference in strength was too great. I walked over to his smoking body. He was still alive, but barely. His eyes looked at me with incomprehension and horror. "How?" he rasped. "How did you become so strong?" "Knowledge," I answered simply. "I knew what was coming, and I prepared. I could kill him now. One move and his life would end." In my past life, he didn't even give me a chance. But, live, I said, turning away. Live with the knowledge that you are no longer at the top. Tell everyone who wants to stand in my way. Chen Hao is back, and this time, I am not a victim. I left him there, broken and defeated, and returned to Feng and Lin. They looked at me with a mixture of awe and fear. That was... Lin started, but couldn't find the words. Feng slowly nodded. You really have become a god. I looked at the chaos below, at the city engulfed in the madness of the awakening. This is only the beginning, I said quietly. The real trials are ahead, but now I am ready. 3 days have passed since the awakening. The city was unrecognizable. The government tried to restore control, but it was useless. The old order had collapsed. Now the strong ruled, those who had powerful tattoos. I stood on the roof of the tallest building in the city center, surveying my territory. Yes, mine. In 3 days, I had asserted my dominance, defeating everyone who dared to challenge me. Feng and Lin joined me, their own powers growing under my guidance. The old man, it turned out, was much stronger than he let on. His tattoos contained the spirits of ancient masters, and now he could summon them into battle. Another figure stood beside me. Liu Mei, my ex-girlfriend. In my past life, she left me and joined Wang Jie. In this life, when she saw my power, when she found out I defeated Wang Jie with one hand, she came back, begging for forgiveness. I took her back. Not out of love, that emotion burned up in the fires of my past death. But she was useful. She had a rare healer tattoo, and such people were worth their weight in gold in the new world. Chen Hao, she touched my shoulder. Reports have come in from the south. A new player has appeared there. Someone with a phoenix tattoo. They say he burned down an entire block. I nodded, unsurprised. I remembered this person from my past life. Zhou Ming, the future Fire Lord. One of the 3 supreme tyrants who would divide the world among themselves. But in the past life, the world was shared by 3. In this life, I won't give them that chance. Prepare the team, I ordered Lin. We go south tomorrow. Are you sure? Feng frowned. A phoenix is a mythical creature. Even your dragon might not. My dragon, I smirked, feeling the ancient creature slumbering on my back, wields 8 elements. The phoenix wields only fire. This isn't a fight, it's a lesson. I turned around, my gaze sweeping the horizon. Somewhere out there, in other cities, other forces were awakening. Legendary tattoos were activating. Titans were being born. And they will all eventually meet me. Because in this world, there is one new rule that didn't exist in the past life. The rule of Chen Hao. He who wields tattoos wields the world. And he who wields the mightiest tattoo wields everything. The dragon on my back stirred, its eyes flared. And in my mind, his voice rang out, full of anticipation. More battles, mortal. Show me worthy opponents. I smiled. Don't worry, old friend. There will be plenty. And as the sun set over the ruined city, the 8 wings on my back unfurled, each shining with the light of its element. A new world had begun, and I was ready to rule it.